Hello, it's the Red-Headed Poet, and today I'm going to be doing another little video with some little animal creatures that I like to sculpt. I think I did the panda one so far, and one of my first videos was an otter, but I may have I pulled the painting video down because so much went wrong with it. But yeah, so we're going to be making another little creature today. I don't know why I really wanted to do a hamster for some reason, so we're going to make a fairly small sculpture. It's going to be a little hamster. Um, I chose Herdsman because I like alliteration. And I also thought it'd be very cute to have a little hamster herding some sort of animal. And I was thinking, like, what would a hamster potentially herd? So we're probably going to do little grasshoppers with him. But for now, it's just going to be a little hamster with a little stick. And if I have time, we'll see if we can do some little grasshoppers around him, like it's almost like a shepherd, but with a little hamster and grasshoppers. So we'll see how it goes. I gotta pull up some reference photos here. I already have the base ready here. Hamsters are pretty easy shape-wise. They're very, very round. So they're not that hard to get the shape correct, although the face may give me a little trouble. So I have lots of reference photos I have to pull up here and keep looking to make sure I get it roughly correct. But I've already got a bunch of clay pieces ready. I ran them through my lovely little roller machine, which is a blessing, because I used to have to roll this all out by hand, and I mean, I'm still cranking it, but it's so much easier with the little crank handle and the rollers to flatten this. So as always, we're going to start by covering our little base that we have here. Oh, and I do have eyes selected. I'm just using straight marbles because hamster eyes are usually very, very dark and very round. So I figured marbles would be the best for that. So we're gonna go ahead and start covering this before we do anything else. But yeah, I wanted to do another little anthropomorphized type character. I really love doing them. Mostly because I had started listening to audiobooks again, and I found out that my childhood favorite series of Redwall has been a lot of it, not all of it, there's quite a bit. A lot of it was actually audio narrated by the author, as well as with some other voice actors. So I was listening to Loamhedge a few days ago while I was working on the house. It was so good. I was so impressed by the audio stuff, and they even did all the songs and stuff, which was really awesome. But that kind of revived my love of little adventure animals. So I wanted to do that again. I've always really liked stories like that. I like a lot of the cartoons with little mice characters and stuff. They're always very cute. Alright. So we're just going to cover this. I may have to do the double layer. I think that's what I did last time, and it turned out pretty well. Because I do wish my little roller had a slightly thicker setting than this. Because you need slightly more clay to cover the lumpy texture of the aluminum foil base that we made. Alright, so I may have to do a double layer here, but that's fine. It shouldn't take too long. But yeah, he's going to be pretty small. Obviously much larger than an actual hamster. He may end up looking a bit more like a guinea pig, because I'm a little more familiar with guinea pigs since I have one. But the goal is hamster. And I'm not quite sure where I want to go with the clothing and such. We'll see. I'm thinking like a little tunic, and then this is going to be his little staff. Once we cover it, it'll look like a little stick. I'm not sure if I'll have him carrying anything like a pack or something. I'm kind of going... I put herdsman because it alliterates with hamster, but kind of going for a shepherd look. But then I was also trying to think, like, if you were shepherding grasshoppers, what would you have? How would that be different than shepherding sheep? I don't know. I feel like grasshoppers would be much more of a nightmare because they can jump so far and they can fly. Or I guess technically locusts, because locusts travel in herds and groups. Because you can have like those crazy locust storms where they just devastate a countryside. So I know they travel in groups, but I guess grasshoppers are more solo. I'm not sure, actually. I'm going to look that up. Grasshoppers communal. I just looked down and the suggested things said, are grasshoppers communists? That's not what I was asking. Okay, yes, so grasshoppers tend to be solitary except locusts. That's what I thought. So maybe we're doing more like, maybe it's more like locusts than grasshoppers, but they look very similar. Alright, smooth this out just a little. And I do apologize. I know the audio's been off and on. I am trying to fix it. I've recently discovered that it's decent except for like S sounds are really staticky, and then I dropped the audio a little bit but moved the microphone closer, and that does seem to help. I got a filter for the front, and I'm trying to learn how to fix that. I will be fixing it hopefully within a week or two, and then I'm gonna voice over a whole bunch of the ones that I've already done. I will probably pull down and repost a bunch of my sculpting snippets with voiceovers, not all of them, but with voiceovers for like the mythology ones. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna try to make it more interesting to watch the short versions, so we'll see. But only if I can get the audio better, because I know the SCP one I did was great until I said SCP, and then it kept going static and peaking, and it was terrible. And I don't really know what I'm doing with that, so I'm gonna sit down and try to learn that the end of this week, probably the beginning of next week, and see if I can do like voiceovers and stuff that might sound a little better. Okay, I think we're gonna do... Yeah, it's a little lumpy, so we gotta do a second layer on parts of the body here. I mean, it is nice to be able to roll the clay this thin for when you're doing like clothing. It does work very well for that. And I'm not sure what color patterns I'm going to give him when we paint him. Of course, I have a whole nother week to think about that, but I'm not sure. Like, I really love the little orangey ones with, like, the darker point noses and faces and ears. So I might go that route, because that would be a nice contrast, I think, to the green, maybe? But I'm not sure. Here we go. Make his tummy nice and round. I was gonna try to make him stand, but that might be a little too ambitious. So I think we're gonna have him sit, so his little feet are gonna come out this way, like that. And I gotta look up hamster tail, because I think they have this little stubby pink tail. So he's probably gonna be sitting, and then if I do that, I might be able to make it so like there's a little grasshopper stuck right here, and then maybe in his arms or something I can have a baby one. And then give him a little stick. I don't know, we'll see. I'm not sure how well I'll be able to do the grasshopper, so we may have to drop that idea, but I think I can at least do one. I just thought it'd be really cute. Although I really think grasshoppers are kind of creepy. I don't like bugs. Alright. And we don't need to do too much for this. I think we're gonna give him maybe it'd be cute if he had a little backpack. I know somebody had a picture of a little hamster with like a little peanut backpack, and it was so adorable. I really like that idea. So we might do something like that, like give him a little backpack, and I'll give him like a, maybe not a full tunic, but like a little shirt that comes around here so his tummy can be visible. Alright, so the face needs to be a little more elongated to be a hamster, and then he needs to have chubby cheeks. So I'll probably add the cheeks later. Alright, let us add this to the front here of his face. So we get a little more of that pointed face, because then the eyes need to be about here and here. The eyes might be a tad big. Eh. They might be a little big. We'll see. Blend in the... There we go. There we go. Alright. That shape almost correct here. And then we'll give him chubby little cheeks that come out this way. Here and here. And then looks like the eyes, let me look. Eyes need to be here. And yeah, is that about right? Not quite. We can cover them a little to make them smaller because they are a tad big. I mean, hamsters do have very large eyes, but this is a tiny bit too big. Alright, so let's add a little bit of clay here to kind of make his eyeball look like it belongs in the socket. And also make his eye look a little smaller this direction. I need to get slightly smaller gloves. These are too big for me. There we go. You can see we're getting a little bit of the rodent-like face shape. I also saw a really cute picture of a little owl like in armor looking like a paladin or something. That was so adorable. So I might do some birds at some point. I really want to do a little bat, but I don't know what a bat would be doing. I don't know what type of class he would have. And I want to do a little animal that's like a baker of some kind, but I don't know. Other than like doing another bear, because I do love bears. I could do another little bear. Do a little baker bear, that'd be cute. Alright, we're getting the basic shape of the face there. And we're going to give him big chubby cheeks next. And we'll make them super fluffy too when we do the texture. Alright. And then the little ears have to be out this side here and here. Nose is a little crooked. Okay. Alright, and as always, we're going to make a quick little round shape like this. Alright, so they're roughly the same size, and then we're going to flatten the edges so that we can blend it very easily into the clay. Like so. Makes it like it looks like a pierogi almost. Yeah, so we make it a pierogi. I'm gonna remember that from now on. And stretch it out a tad more here. And then we're gonna add it right there. I had this idea of having him hold a little blackberry as well, but I don't know if I can actually pull that off. We'll see. I want to give him lots of little pieces and things to hold on to. Little accessories. I was about to say bits and bobs because I've been watching a streamer who's British and I was like, I don't say that. Wow. But I like that expression. But lots of accessories. There we go. He's got one little chubby cheek. Now we gotta do the other one. Flatten this a bit. At some point, whenever I can afford it, I'll try to get a 3D scanner so that I can do 3D prints of these on demand. Because I think that would be fun. To sell my little character designs. But unfortunately, I was gonna do that, but as some stuff came up, and it's out of my budget at the moment, so I cannot. And I really would rather have a kiln, but that's way more expensive. But they're both expensive, and I don't have the money for either. I wish I did. If I had limitless money, I would have so many projects going. I want to get an engraver too. There we go. There we go. And we have a little bit of the rodent face going on. Okay. Now let me see. Gotta smooth his head out a tad. See if the eyes look okay. So I also got to figure out where the ears exactly need to go to try to get the hamster look correct. And I think he needs to be squashed a bit there. There. Make the cheeks a little flatter so they're not quite so big. There we go. Alright, so that's the base of our little head. Gotta neaten up the clay here and here. Alright, so now I gotta look at little hamster ears and where they go. So it looks like... Smooth the neck out a bit. Okay. Okay. Hamster ears. Some of them are tiny and some of them are big. Seems like the head almost needs to be a little bigger. Like I need to, hold on. I need to add a little to the top of the head. Because I don't quite, this is more squirrelish almost. Head needs to be a little, let's see. Add a little bit to the top of the head because the ears go further back. So the head needs to be taller. And then the ears go further out. Okay. Yeah. That's slightly more accurate shape there. There we go, that's a little more hamster-like. I just gotta finish smoothing it out here. This is gonna be cute. I'm already liking the little face. Okay. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull off distinctly hamster, and I'm still a little worried about that, but at least it will be very cute rodent. I can do that much. It might look a little more mouse-like than I intend, but I think I can do it. There we go. There's a little bit of a dent here that I don't want. There. That way the eyes will, yeah, that evens up the eyes a bit. They were looking a little lopsided, the eyelid part, or the over eye, whatever that's called, the brow, I guess. Well, they don't really have eyebrows. Okay, so then the ears are going to go here and here. And I think this might be too much clay for the ear. Yeah, because it's almost like, yeah, this is too much clay. Let's cut this in half. And each half will be an ear. Sit in line. Oh, it's above the eyes, so, but the head should be a little taller actually. And then the ears are like above the eyes here, kind of like that. Yeah, I don't know why. This is one of my favorite things, actually, doing the sculptures of, like, I love doing the mythological, like, cryptids and stuff, but I think I like doing the little animals more, just because they make me so happy. They always look so cute. But I don't think it's something people search for very often, so it doesn't work very well for that. And I'm already having issues with people, you know, not finding my videos and not knowing how to advertise them, so I should probably do more fan art and more recognizable popular things, but I love doing these little guys. They're so cute. I was actually thinking about doing my take on Redwall characters because I would love to do that. But that's a very, I don't know, that's like a very niche thing, I feel like. Although I have met quite a few people in my age group and slightly older who read Brian Jake's books and loved them. So maybe it's not as niche as I think. Consequently, it's mostly been guys. I actually don't think I've met another girl who read Redwall. It's only been guys. I don't know if that's just, you know, my personal interactions, if there's any credence to that, but they're very good books. They are very good. And I was really impressed with the audio versions, because they had like a full cast, and he's really good at narrating, which I'm not sure why I didn't think he would be. I mean, I never thought he wouldn't be. I just didn't expect that, because the original, if you know the origin of Redwall, the original Redwall stories were written for children in a blind school. I think he delivered milk or something to them, and he started coming up with these stories to tell to the blind children. So I love the beauty, like, of the way he describes things, very tactile. And listening to him narrate, he's a really good storyteller. I was really impressed. So I'm super excited because there's a bunch more. I wish he had done all of his books. Unfortunately, I believe he passed away. I was still a kid when he passed away, so it was a while back. But he's a very good storyteller, and I'm glad they at least recorded some of his narration of his own stories. They're quite good. All right, so we got our little ears. Now I gotta look at the nose. What's the nose look like? They're cute little noses, okay. Cute little tiny button noses. It'd be funny if he had a little baby grasshopper like sitting on his head, maybe, and I could like, hold on, I could do this and like have him squinch his eye a little bit. Hold on, let's see if I can do the facial expression. Would that work? Yeah, and then we could do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. We're gonna do his face like a little bit scrunched up, and then I think we're gonna do like a little baby locust grasshopper on his head. But I don't want him to look angry. I just kind of like he's like, it's, you know, when a cat like licks your face and you're scrunching your eyes up kind of thing, because it's awkward, but it's kind of cute. Let's do that. There we go. Here we go. That way his one eye is until scrunched up, and then I'll stick a little grasshopper baby on his head. I'm not sure why I decided grasshopper specifically. It's one of the things that hamsters can eat. So I was like, you'd probably, you know, you could raise those as like a source of, you know, food. Or don't grasshoppers also produce some kind of stuff that you can eat? I'm trying to think of what it's called. I think they do. I seem to recall that as a thing. Oh. What do grasshoppers produce that you can eat? It's called something. I don't even know how to search for it. I don't know my brain. There's a bug that's like that, that makes something... That's just gonna bother me. I can't think of what it is. Maybe it's locusts that make it? The problem is you can also eat grasshoppers, and that's what's coming up. Or maybe I'm just thinking of the tree. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look for that later because I could have sworn there was a bug that kind of like I know certain ants produce something they call like a type of honey that you can eat, or you know, similar things. All right, back to what's the hamster nose look like? Okay, so it's short like this, a little bit longer. It like that. And then the nostrils on the side, the nostrils on the side, like that. Make it a little rounder. All right, so we got the base of his face done. It's pretty cute. Okay, I think we're gonna work on the clothing next. I kind of want to give him like a tiny little vest. So let's take this piece of clay and let us cut it evenly. Okay. Is that enough to wrap around him? Almost. Almost enough. It's a little bit long though. I want to make it shorter. There we go. Oops. Don't want that. And then I also need to cut the edges of this to make it smooth. Like so. And like so. Alright. Does this wrap around our little guy or do we need it bigger? Almost. Almost, almost, almost. Come on. A little bigger. Alright. Let me... I want to double check that everything... I always get paranoid. I want to check to make sure everything's wrong on my... Or everything's correct, not wrong. On my own end of things. Because when you don't have people watching, you don't know if something's wrong. Okay, cool. So that's fine. Alright. We don't have any dropped frames today either. That's good. I wasn't sure because it's a little bit rainy right now, and not too long ago we had a crazy storm, so my internet has been very unreliable. That's fine. Okay, I think... And I feel like because he's got such cute little ears, he needs earrings just because. Okay. Alright. And then we're going to do little holes here. There we go. Alright, so next up, actually let's not do the strings on that just yet, because I think we should do the collar first, because the collar can be a little bit more challenging. Alright, I think this is the longest piece I have. Alright, let's cut the collar from this piece. Over there, okay. Get rid of all of this. I have a really sharp knife, so I don't know why I keep cutting this with a butter knife. Because I could actually use an actual knife. But I'm dumb for some reason and I don't do that. Alright, so we can put this around like the collar. Too thick. Alright, let's do this real quick. So we're going to smooth that edge a bit so it's not so rough. So very obviously cut. And then, alright, we're going to expand the edge of this collar. And then okay. There we go. There we go. So we have a little bit of a collar now. I think we should give him a little pocket. That'd be cute, some little pockets. So let's do that. Some little square pockets. Right here. And then we're gonna do this here. And this here, like so. Okay. We might have to stick something in the pocket or something coming out of the pocket. That'd be very cute. So now he's got a little pocket on his vest. Alright, I should probably not do too many more details because I will accidentally smash them and ruin them and then I'll be really upset. So, let us go ahead and we need to do the legs. And the tail. And then the arms we can put on probably after a bit. Alright, let's lay him down. Alright, I gotta look up hamster legs now. They're pretty short and stubby, like I think it's just little tiny thighs and then feet stick right out. So I think it's just gonna be little feet sticking out up. Let me see. Bring up hamsters. More pictures of hamsters. Let's see, hamster feet. Oh yeah, the feet just like stick out from their body. They're very round. They're very little tiny round guys. Little hamster feet. I could actually, you know, I'm actually going to have him stand because I think a hamster standing and sitting is almost the same position. They're so cute. Okay, yeah. So we're just going to give him little feet that stick out. Little teeny feet. Oh, yeah. Okay. They are interesting. They almost have a mix between like a paw pad type look and fingers. That's so interesting. They look like mini, it looks like if you crossed a human hand with a cat paw. Like, it's interesting. Okay. So they're somewhat elongated. I'm not going to do the texture on the bottom, because the bottom of my statues are always flat, just so that they're balanced. Any texture I did would get smashed out, so no point. No point in stressing myself out about that. I only do textures if it's going to be on the bottom, if it's going to be like visible from multiple angles or something. Alright. So let's do this. Okay. Alright, so smooth this out a bit. Smooth this out a bit. Okay. So they're somewhat long. Like this. It's a little too long. Then flatten this out. And it looks like they have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they have the toe and the thumb type pattern. So 4 little toes. Let's do that. Quick separation here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, whenever I do like hands or feet, it's always the question like, should we sculpt it from the existing piece and cut out the shapes, or do we add? I might regret my decision on this one. I might actually go back and add little balls of clay instead of... Okay. Because they need to be textured. I think we could do it this way. That's fine. Yeah, because they almost have like the human hand thing with the little cross here. The little pattern. I don't know how to describe it, but it's the pattern that's on the inside of your hand. What's the top of their foot look like? Is it just furry? Little hamster feet. Okay, okay, yes, it's furry and then the little pink toes stick out. And they do spread quite a bit. So Although when they're on their backs, they curl them up. Okay. They are very tiny. A little more separated than that. Okay. And then a little tiny toe over here. A little bigger than that. And they do have little nails too. Okay, so this toe's actually pretty far. It's the weird thing when you sculpt stuff. You suddenly have to pay attention to the anatomy of all sorts of very strange things. Like hamster toes. Okay, and then there's like a little thumb toe over here. Yeah, this is weirdly like it's like a little human hand with super stubby fingers and claws. And it does have like nails and claws. So I think what I'm gonna do for that is and then the rest of this is furry right here. And then the little pink toes stick out. Like that. Alright, kinda like that. So what I'm gonna do for the claws, we're just gonna do little toenail indentations like that. And we're gonna call that good. Because miniature claws tend to they if you can see, they tend to break off very easily. They look cool, but they make the sculptures are already incredibly fragile, and doing actual nails makes them way more fragile when it's like a claw that sticks out. Unless it's a very large one, it really just makes it so fragile. And there's so many little pieces on these that already are prone to breaking that I tend to not to avoid that if I don't have to. Okay, we're gonna do the reverse. So this needs to be further down. And then our little thumbnail is here. I think little mouse hands are somewhat similar, although I think mice have longer toes, if I remember correctly. I haven't looked at it too closely, but I think their toes are a bit longer than hamsters. Alright, and I'm going to take our little thing here and do the little nail impressions. All I'm doing is make a little indentation and pulling some clay to stick out on the end. Because that works for nails typically for smaller sculptures. For bigger sculptures, usually there's enough structural like strength that you can get away with that you can do that. But there's our two little hamster feet. They look more like hands. It's so weird. Okay. Like I said, any texture I did on the bottom is going to be ruined here in a second when we stick him down. Which is why I tend to not worry about texture on the bottom of sculptures that are always going to be sitting. Because it's kind of a waste of time. Alright, and then we're gonna look at little hamster tails now. Because we got our little hamster feet. Alright, hamster tail. I think they're just basically a little nub that sticks out that's just pink. I remember them being quite cute. Yeah, it is just a little nub. Just a tiny, tiny little nub that has fur on part of it, and then the bottom of it's just a little naked pink stub. So, right there, like that. That's actually a little big. Let me flatten it a tad. Hamster tail. Do the tail like that so he sits right. So he's technically standing, but I think standing and sitting he would look almost identical. Alright, and then we do the fur texture. The end of that tail will be... Bend the feet down a tad. There we go. So we got him standing now. Got our little hamster guy. Okay. So now, let us go ahead and try to do a few more details here. We're going to start, do I want to do a backpack? I think the peanut backpack thing I saw in an art piece, that was so cute. I like that idea, but I think acorn might look cute. An acorn backpack? Let me see. Let me think. Acorn. Yeah, I think acorns would look really cute. So let's give him an acorn backpack. Here, I'm gonna be a little noisy here for a second. I gotta grab a little bit of aluminum foil. Sorry about that. Alright. So we're gonna do a little acorn backpack because I think that'll be really adorable. Okay. Whenever I was a little kid, I used to take the tops of little acorns and I would try to turn them into cute little bowls and miniature bowls and salads. I don't know why I did that. I just was always fascinated with how tiny they were. And I would pop them off the top of the acorns that had fallen on the ground because we had an oak tree. And then I would find all the little grasses that have little tiny seeds on them, and I would pull the little seeds off. And then I would place them, you know, in a little salad thing. And then there was these tiny little violet flowers that used to grow super tiny, like teeny tiny. And I would put those on top, and I would make like this tiny little salad with flowers on it. And then I would put it on the ground. Sometimes I would find an anthill and give it to them. I'm not sure why I did that. It was kind of weird, but making miniature things was always something I loved. I don't think the ants appreciated it. I'm pretty sure they were wondering why the heck I was doing that. I don't even like ants. I'm not sure why I did that. Acorn. I need a better picture of an acorn to look at. Acorn. All right. All right, so we gotta do the top of his little acorn backpack. I'm trying to think, if you were a hamster, what would your supplies look like? Because you're tiny. So like your backpack would look like an acorn. What else would... What else would you carry? Okay, and then we're gonna do a little stick thing here. And then I gotta figure out how to do this acorn texture properly. Although I should probably attach it to the back first before I go to all the trouble of getting the texture correct. Because then when I put it on the back, I'll smash the texture because I use very soft glaze. Okay. Okay. Okay, and so for the acorn texture, I think we just need to do streaks downward like this. Johnny, what would he attach to his backpack, if anything? I don't know. Trying to think of all the little tiny miniature things I used to make when I was little. There. So we have that, and now the acorn texture is very bumpy. I have some texture rollers. Hold on. Let's see. This work? Ah, it will. Awesome. I recently got myself some texture rollers and I was so excited to use them. And this is like the right texture for this. So texture rollers are great. It's better than me sitting ages trying to get this exact pattern correct. Because that's what I usually do. Alright, and then I think I want to take one of my extremely sharp knives that I am not going to cut myself with. Okay. And then... Okay. Take it away. There we go. because that looked a little weird. There we go. You can see it from the side now, from the top. Hold on, let me play with my light here. There we go. Yeah, for some reason, I think as the day goes on, it gets very yellowy looking. I don't know if it was like that at the beginning and I just noticed it now, or... Oh, didn't mean to knock you over, little guy. I'm sorry. All right, so we have that. We will do the straps for his backpack later. And we'll do a quick little texture pattern here. Okay. Okay. So now I feel like the cool backpacks always have stuff hanging off of them and it looks really awesome. Okay, the arms need to go here, so we're gonna make space for the arms right here, there, and then there. So that's where the arms are going. Let me look to see if I can get more inspiration on the backpack here. Could do a little leaf hanging off the side. That'd be cute. It's like a little... leaf. There, we can do a little leaf. All right, and then what else should we attach to his backpack? Just a small decoration. I don't like the way I did this leaf. All right, so we have a little leaf on his backpack, but that's kind of, definitely needs more. I guess we could go ahead and work on the arms while we think about that. All right, let's look at hamster arms. Hamster hands. Very fluffy. Okay, very chubby and fluffy. And tiny little fingers. So really big, fluffy attachment point. Big, fluffy attachment point. Let's do that. Oh, I don't want to drop it. And that. Like that. And then tiny little baby hands on the end. Alright, so we'll do this and then we'll do a second one. Okay, and then when we do the attachments, I'll probably put the hand on the item and then attach the hand to the arm. So we'll just do the arms without the hands at the moment so we can finish our backpack, and then we'll work on the accessories. I had this idea, like I said, at the blackberry, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. Is that roughly the same? Roughly the same size. Okay. So we're going to do this. Oh, wait, I got to smooth that out more. That looks bad. And like I said, we will add textures of the fur. I usually add last. It's a little easier to do it that way. Okay. Like so. And we'll pop his other little arm into its socket over here. And collar down over it. We're going to have this one out further because this is the one that's going to hold the staff. He's going to have the staff in his right hand. That's right hand. My left, his right. Okay. All right. We got his little arm started. He's got his little backpack. Okay. Gotta stop letting him fall over. All right, so I think we should go ahead and do the straps for the backpack. Okay. There we go. We got one backpack strap. And this isn't quite long enough, so we'll cut another strip here. And then we'll do the other one. I started at the top. Okay, so right here. Right there. Underneath. Alright, so we got our second backpack strap. There we go. Now he's got his little backpack thoroughly on. Okay. Now we're going to do our little rope here. So what I usually do when I do this is I flatten it a tad, like so, and then I twist it until I get this really tight spiral like this. You can make a nice little rope this way. Okay. So we're gonna do rope to here. To there. Ah. And then alright, we might have to make some more of this rope. Actually, I think we'll just do that, so then we'll... Yeah, do that. And then right at the end, just a tad. Like so. There we go. You can see his little rope. Little rope collar there. And then I'll do a little tiny one at the top here. And I think I'll put little buttons, because that would be kind of cute. Just a little button there, and a little button here. And then just scratch the middle here so it looks like... There we are. There we go. Alright, I like that for the front. I would say maybe a little patch on his clothing would be cute as well. That way he just looks a little bit ragged. I'm very fond of this little thing. I think he's looking really cute. I'm really happy with the face. I was really worried I wouldn't get the face right. Alright, so we do that. There we go. He's got a little patch. He's got a little tiny pocket. Oh, I want to stick something in his pocket. Like maybe like a little piece of grain or something sticking out of his pocket. Let me see. Can I do grain? Or is that might be a little tiny. It'd be kind of hard. I mean, I've sculpted grain before, but it's not simple, especially not at this scale. One of those grass things. Hold on. This is actually more like one of those little grass seeds, but that's fine. That's actually more scale accurate. But it doesn't... Oh, come here. There we go. Now he's got a little grass seed sticking out of his pocket. Okay. Is there anything else we can add to his backpack to make it more interesting? We can do another tiny, tiny little leaf here. I think that would look fine. Yeah. So now we have two little leaves on the side, but I feel like it needs more. I don't know. Oh. Maybe not. Maybe that's fine. All right. What could he be holding in his other hand? Because they have very teeny tiny little fingers. Just little teeny baby fingers. Could just have the fingers curl up in like a little fist. And let's see, if it's left hand, thumb's on the outside. Okay. Thumb would be here. Alright. Here he's got his one little hand that I want to put something in, but I don't know what. I could put a little berry in his hand. I think I will do that. Just a little, here, let me do a little cone, like so. And then you just stick little balls across it so it looks like a berry. Sorry, I'm very focused on making my berry. Okay, we got a little berry now. A little raspberry. And it's just gonna put his little hand around it. Alright, so he's got a little berry in one hand. And then we'll do the second hand. But we gotta do the staff first. Okay. And the staff is just gonna look like a little stick. That's too thick. We need to make it thinner. We gotta do the other little hand, holding on to the stick. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now we gotta do a couple little designs on the stick. Alright, so we're gonna do his little hand. Okay, and let's add this here so we can attach the hand easier. Okay. Little hamster hand. Okay. Oh, I forgot to, hold on. I'm stupid. I forgot to do the stick texture. I should do that first before I make it extremely difficult to do after the fact. Stick. Stick, 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 stick. Stick bark. Okay. Alright. Yeah, this hand may break it maybe a little on the fragile side. All right, we got his basic shape done. So now, I probably should have added this stick last. That was probably a bad idea. Actually, let me grab a piece of wire and see if I can strengthen the arm with a little piece of wire without completely destroying it. Okay. Oh, that's a bit too long. Okay. Okay. And then we'll add a little more clay here to cover that up. Oh, that should help. Yeah, that's a lot sturdier. There we go. All right. Okay, so he's got a little berry. He's got that. Oh, and his little mouth. I didn't do the mouth. The little mouth should be like right about here and there. Just real tiny. Whoop. There we go. Alright, so we need to do texture on him, and then the final thing we're going to do is our, unless I can come up with more to do with his backpack. So we're going to do some quick textured fur patterns on this little guy. Just everywhere fur pattern. Except maybe right around his mouth, maybe not there. And we're almost done. Then we're just I'm gonna have to make a little baby grasshopper to stick on his head. Okay, and then start up here. And then the finer pieces, like around his chin, we'll leave that a little bit less textured, because it gives the impression of a slightly finer hair, or fur, I guess, would be the better term. So like under his cheeks and stuff, we'll leave that untouched. And then his tummy. And then we gotta do the fur texture on the tail correctly so that it looks like... I'm losing stuff here. Okay. Oh, no, that's the... That is not... We do not want that. Okay. And then... Fur texture on the arms to make them very fluffy. Very fluffy arms. Fluffy little arms. Alright, so I think we're almost done here. We have our little hamster. We have the texture. All right, so now I need to look up baby cricket or baby locust. And we're going to stick one on his head. Okay. Let me see here. Baby locust. Images. Okay, so it's got an elongated body, kind of a very oval head. Actually, let me do these pieces separate. Let's find a better picture. Okay, yeah, because the baby ones are like the adult ones, they're just slightly shorter. But it's this and a very large elongated head with big eyeballs. Let's see. So then the eyeball holes go here and here. Okay. Downward like so. Okay. And then big long legs in the back, little teeny legs in the front. So we have giant big legs here. Yeah. Legs a little further close. A little further close. I can't talk. A little closer. Okay. Alright, and then I actually might do, I don't know, wire antenna would look kind of weird. I don't have the thinner wire either. Oh wait, I do. I could use, do I have any more twist ties? Awesome, okay. Where did I put my knife? Okay, so the front legs, we'll just do tiny little. Oh, they're skinnier and tinier than that. But I can't realistically make them much smaller, else they won't stay. Let's see what we're doing. He's a little cricket herder. He herds crickets because I don't know what else a hamster would herd. And they do eat crickets too. So, cricket herder, I'm inventing it. It's a thing that hamsters do now. Alright, so we're going to stick the other leg. Yeah. Okay. Oh, the hand is breaking off again. I'm gonna have to be careful with that one. Alright. Now the antennae are usually very close together in the center of the forehead. Oh, and this is more angular downward, like that. So, bend this in the middle. And just, no, that's too long. Like so. Oh no, it's the other way. Oops. It's the other way. I'm stupid. Legs bend the other way on bugs. I'm dumb. I'm making them like dogs right now. Oops. Okay. And then we gotta add little tiny feet at the end here. We're almost done. This poor hand does not want to stay together. It would probably help if I stopped bending it and moving it around, but I should have known better, and I should have done it last. And this wouldn't have happened. But. All right. So I think, let's see, I gotta see how their wings look, because they have the carapace up here, the separation between the head and neck. I'm trying to think, what's the baby wings look? I don't think they have wings when they're that tiny. Yeah, they don't. They just have, okay, they have a ridged back, like this. I should look up locust stages so I can see what baby locust is supposed to look like. Locust life stages. Okay. Okay, yeah, so fledgling doesn't usually have pronounced wings. If they do, they're itty bitty. So we're gonna give him 2 little itty bitty wings. Like this. Oh. Little itty bitty tiny baby wings. Oh, that's too big. And then I gotta do the top piece of his carapace. There we go. All right, so here we have our little hamster herdsman. You heard the locusts. He's got his little staff. He's got a little berry in his hand. He's got his little baby locust on his forehead. He's got a little acorn backpack. I think he's pretty good. I'm very fond of him. I think he's pretty adorable. I'm pretty happy with the way he turned out. Well, there. So I think we're done for today. If you watch this video, I do greatly appreciate it. If you have suggestions ever about what you'd like to see me sculpt, about colors you'd like to see me do if I haven't done the next video yet, feel free to send me those, give me suggestions. I do try to read any comments that I get. I don't get too many. But I do appreciate it if you viewed this far, and I wish you a very good night or morning if it's morning for you. And I'm gonna head off here. I gotta bake this little guy so that he doesn't fall to pieces. But I will be back next week, and we will be painting our little hamster herdsman. But I think he's pretty cute. So thank you so much, and have a good night.